All right.
All right, wonderful. So yeah, we were wanting to set up this meeting just because our organization was looking to explore some healthcare plans for our staff.
Okay.
And we just kind of wanted to get an idea of what are the rates within providers, what are the tiers, what are the, kind of options that we can put in for employees, just kind of a general overview of what's available, how it works, etc.
Perfect. Okay. So there are five major players in the market here in Oregon. You are in Oregon, right?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right. So you got Providence, you have Regents, you have Moda, Pacific Source, Kaiser. HealthNet is out there, but their plans are a little on the weird side. That's tiered, and the rates are not really that much better than any of the other carriers that don't have that convoluted three-tiered system. United Healthcare is another one that we have access to. They're not friendly to small business. They're usually for those larger organizations, and I've never seen their rates be any better than the other carriers. The major ones that most clients, unless they like Kaiser, then it's like Kaiser. Other than that, it's Regents and Providence are the next two, mainly because they have good plans and the rates are pretty good. Pacific Source is the legacy network. So for those that want legacy, Pacific Source is the way to go. And then Moda is, they are another one that have all the hospital systems here in Oregon. They also have access to OHSU, the Adventist network. So that's usually the way Moda works. They're great with dental also. Kaiser is another one that has really good dental options that are outside of Kaiser. The rates are based on, for those employers that have less than 50, that's 50 employees, it's the average age of who enrolls. So we can run a quote on the entire staff, but the final rates will be determined based on those that actually enroll, including their dependents. So if they have a spouse or children that come on, those dependents will also give weight to the rates. And if any dependents or any staff that are going from like 21 to 22, that there's a big jump between 21 to 22. I had a group that happened to them where the kids went from 19 to 20, 20 to 21, 21 to 22, like 3 years in a row. And so their rates were like being hit each of those years. But if there's nobody in that age range, then you won't have to worry about that. Also, newborns until they're about 4 to 5, the rates also increase a little bit because they have more, if you will, maintenance. A lot of vaccines and a lot of things could happen to a little one. But for the most part, the younger the staff, the better the rates. So you can have a staff in the average age in their late 20s will have much better rates than the staff that has the average age in their early 50s, even for the exact same plan. The requirements for the employer is to maintain Oregon workers' comp, to pay at least 50% of the premium for the employees, at least. That doesn't mean you can pay more, you just can't pay less. You are not required to pay for dependents, but you can if you want to. I have a group that I was talking to, they're starting to hire, they're paying 100% for both employees and their dependents. And I was like, okay, you're only responsible for like, oh no, we're paying for everybody. I'm like, okay, these are your rates. They're like, that works. Okay. So they just happen to have the funding for that. That's the other one. And then the nice thing is you get to determine what full-time is. You get to decide, is it 17 and a half hours? Is it 20, 25, 30, 32, 37 and a half, 40? That is what you decide is what will be for the entire year. You can change it at renewal. And then you can also get to decide how long somebody must work for you before they are offered benefits. For this one that I was telling you about, they're from the first day to hire is when their plan starts. So if they're hired today, their plan starts today. For the most part, most businesses are doing first of the month following, whatever it may be, first of the month following date of hire, first of the month following 30 days, first of the month following 60 days. Depending on the business, classification of the business. So construction, usually first of the month following 60 days, whereas my nonprofits, my Chamber of Commerce, they're usually first of the day following date of hire. And then for my plumbers and electricians, because they're hard to come by, they're also first of the month from the date of hire. It's because they want to give them the benefits as quickly as possible because they want to be competitive against somebody else that's going to make them wait longer. So those are the main highlights. The plans can vary based on need. So you can say, you know what, I want to provide 80% of a plan that might have a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 deductible. And then what you do for the flexibility. So that gives you your budget. Hey, we can afford to do X. But then for those employees that might want something a little bit better, they might want $1,000 deductible or a $2,000 deductible or a lower copay. They might have a surgery coming up. So then you offer a secondary plan, one that has a lower deductible, lower max out of pocket. Because this base plan, that's your responsibility. If they choose to get that better plan, so this is a silver plan, this might be a gold plan, they get to pay the difference. It's called a buy up plan because they are buying up into that better plan. And that way you stay within your budget, but you're giving staff flexibility to get what they want or need. They just have to pay the difference. Will some of them pay the difference? Absolutely. Others say, you know what I'm getting, I'm happy with, I get to go to the doctor. I don't have to worry about all the XYZs, so I'm good there. So you give them the option. If they take it, great. If they don't, that's okay. That's kind of very, very high level.
Yeah. So just to kind of get an idea, so I would say, yeah, most of our, let's see here, most of our staff is probably, I'd say in their 30s. Would be kind of the range. And so I just wanted to get like, a basic idea of like, yeah, I mean, what's the difference between these different providers as far as costs? What's kind of the ranges as far as, what that would cost to deliver different kinds of plans.
Let me pull up a recent group to kind of at least give you an idea of what it could look like. One that I gave like oh, I know which one. All right. This one I gave them a good
Yeah, our organization is about, I think we're 12 people now.
All right, so here's let me show you this one. I don't remember what the average age is. I think that they were in their 40s on this one, but this will at least give you an idea of what things might look like. Providence, Regions, and Kaiser. So with this particular plan, this Providence plan, this one is a choice. So the nice thing about this plan, there's a few nice things. One, it gives, beside all of them will give the annual physical once a year. This particular plan gives an additional 3 visits covered in full. So employee can go to the doctor, specialist urgent care at no cost. Even though it says only on the office, I had another group that somebody said they went to urgent care and they were told it was one of their 3 visits. They didn't have to pay for it. So it was nice. It's like, oh, yay. So 3 visits. After 3 visits, then they pay $40 to go see the doctor, 60 for specialist, 60 for urgent care. Labs and x-rays are at 35%. Anytime you see an asterisk, they do not need to meet that $6,000 deductible. So deductible might look a little scary going, oh, wow, that's a lot. But for the most part, for most people, they're not even going to touch that deductible. They're going to do a copay. They're going to do 35%. They're going to get their meds, $20, $65. That's the norm. They can go to chiropractic acupuncture at $25. When the deductible comes into play is if the person goes to emergency, hospitalization, surgery, advanced imaging such as PET scans, CAT scans, any of those advanced imagings, then they do have to spend the first $6,000. The max out of pocket is $9,000 in this particular plan. That $6,000 is already part of that $9,000. So if somebody has surgery, the most they're going to pay for that surgery is $9,000, and they don't have to pay for it upfront. The provider might require a specific dollar down payment, if you will, and then they can get onto a payment plan. This plan here, the requirement on this one is to have a medical home. So they have to pick one clinic for all services, and they have to get referrals if they're going outside that clinic. So if the clinic has 10 providers in there, any provider within that clinic, they're going to be paying that for their free or 60 to 40 or $60. If, let's say though, somebody wants to go to a dermatologist that is not in this clinic, it's across the street, still in network, but across the street, they have to ask their medical clinic, hey, I need a referral to go to that dermatologist. They get the referral, good to go. If they go to that dermatologist without the referral, then they're going to get dinged. It's going to be considered out of network. That's part of why this plan is less expensive than the Balance plan. Balance, it's a signature network, which is a nationwide network. Regent has also a nationwide network. It's called Preferred. And then Kaiser, they're an HMO, so it's Pacific Northwest, and if they're traveling, then they would have to use a travel network, and truly it's really emergency is what they're going to cover. So on the rates, so this is just kind of to look at it, a $6,000 deductible, a $4,000 deductible, and a $2,500 deductible. Max out of pockets, not a huge difference, but again, they're only going to hit that max out of pocket and that deductible if they're going to emergency hospitalization or surgery.
Yeah.
In this case, this had 8 employees, and I think the average age was around mid-40s. If you're going to be and I could run a dummy number if you have kind of a range, and then I could run numbers again for you. But in this case, this plan was $524 for choice, $586 for balance, and then $691 for the total enhanced. The employer's contribution in this case is 50% of the lowest plan was $262, $296, and $276 for Kaiser. So that just gives you kind of a very high level. If I run numbers, I can get you updated numbers for your organization. Under the dental, I didn't make it look as pretty, but we're looking for dental plans around $50, anywhere between 38 to 55 is about normal for most plans, just depending on what the maximum coverage is going to be. In this case, $1,500, $2,500, $2,000. Kaiser has a $2,000. Plans are usually going to cover the deductible of about $50. They're going to have the cleanings, checkups, x-rays covered in full. Basic, which is going to be your deep cleanings, your root canals, fillings covered at, in this case, with MODA, it's 10%. Usually it's 20% that they're covering 90%, employee pays the 10%. It's usually 80-20. They cover 80, employee covers 20. And then when it comes to major, which is your root canals, crowns, then it's a 50-50. They're going to cover up to that annual maximum. So that's what the insurance company covers. And if you keep your mind at about $50, that'll be about normal, give or take, just depending again on the average age. Your contribution would be about $25 to $29 somewhere in there, just depending.
Okay.
And again, I can run numbers, so I can send you a PDF afterwards to kind of give you more of what your group would, based on your demographics. That way you get a better feel, because yeah, $500 some odd dollars is like, again, this is not the youngest group, and they have another group that has a average age in their 50s, and this number here is over $600. But if the younger the demographic, the lower that rate was.
Right.
But at least this gives you a very high level of some of the plans that are out there. I didn't put MODA or Pacific Source in here because the rates were more expensive, so I didn't even bother. But I mean, unhide here. Pacific Source, $607 for a plan that's similar to this one. So when you look at the plans, this one and this one are similar. Why would I show 607 when this is 586? And they have the ability to go to that choice plan, which Pacific Source doesn't have. So
right. Okay.
Gives you kind of a little bit of an idea what's out there.
Yeah. So just to kind of get an idea of like general, like with those numbers, since that average employee was in their 40s. If our average employee is about a decade younger, would that
Let's
be
go down.
probably about $100 less a month?
Yeah, easily, easily.
Easily. Okay.
Yeah, it might be even more, just depending if it's, 32 or 38, but I can, if you have the average age, I can, put a dummy, dates of birth in there, if you say, oh, they're mostly in 35 or some are 32, 35, 38. If you know about their ages, I just put in a dummy, date of birth, and then that way the system generates, a quote. It's not going to be accurate, but it'll give you at least an idea.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, because let's see here. So yeah, there's some staff who work remote and wouldn't even be able to guess.
No.
I know like in-house people who are in the office, which is most of the staff, I would say it's like there's probably, well, there's an early 20, there's me in my mid 20s, there's two early 30s, about 30 to 32, and then I would say there's two in their 40s. So I'm just, with that, I would say the average is around 33 to 35.
Okay.
So
I'll
I
use
guess
that
we,
on my basis. That'll be fine.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I
And
guess.
The other thing with staff is that if somebody is on Oregon Health Plan, if they're on a spouse's plan, and you said the first one that the person is about 20 years old.
Yeah, we just hired someone who's I think she's about 23.
Okay. And so when somebody is that young, sometimes they're on a parent's plan. And so if they're on a parent's plan, on Oregon Health Plan, on a spouse's plan, on Medicare, VA, they can opt out. So they can say, thank you so much, appreciate you offering. I don't want it because I'm over here. And that's okay. So let's say you hire somebody, the 23-year-old, let's say the person's 25. And so they say, thank you so much, but I'm on my parents' plan. And then 6 months later, they turn 26 and they get kicked off the parents' plan. They can then come on to the group plan. At renewal, because now you have a 26-year-old, now your average age is going to shift just a little bit. It's going to bring it down a little bit. And so at renewal, your rates, high probability, they might come down. Because normally if there's no changes every year, we're getting a year older. So there's going to be an increase every year, probably a small one, 2, 3, maybe 4%. But then you bring in that 23-year-old, 26-year-old, they bring the rate down a little bit. You might be even, or you might even have a reduction. I had a group that I was talking to, the same one from yesterday. They're all like, oh, so what's, what are we looking at certain rates? She's kind of, and I said, oh, well, you had a 7.35% reduction from the year prior because who they hired was younger. And so it brought the average age down. So I said, this is a good thing. They're like, okay, let's use the better plan. I said, okay. So their base plan is going to be a gold plan, not a silver plan, because they're like, hey, if we're saving the money, let's just put it into a better plan. It's like, all right, that works. So you have the opportunity every year to relook at the plans and say, is what you have what you want, or should we switch it around?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And then so that employer contribution that you were showing was a 50% rate, it looked like.
Yeah.
And that's kind of I guess up to us, the how high or low we want to go with that.
Yep. So long as you're at 50%, you can contribute either 50% or a flat dollar. So that was 296 on that base plan. You can say, oh, I'm just going to do 300. So that way it's that flat dollar and not this weird dollar. So it just depends. Some people want the exact, some people want the whole numbers just to make it easier. Whatever works for you. So long as it's 50%, you're good to go. Let's say that we told the carrier 50%, and then once everything is said and done, your rates are a little bit lower, and then you go, oh, well, then we can do, a little bit more. It's fine. That small percent is not going to be a big deal with the carrier. They're not going to come back and go, oh, you gave them $3 extra a month. They don't care. They really don't.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So with like, I guess I'm assuming that if it was 50%, like say for me as one of the younger staff, maybe they put in 150, and then I put another 150, but for older staff, there's going to be a little bit more, there's going to be a more personal burden on them?
It's exactly the same. That's the beauty about Oregon, is that your rates are already kind of brought into that average age. And so everybody's rate is exactly the same for the entire year. Once they're locked in, you can hire a 20-year-old, the rate's the same. You can hire a 60-year-old, the rate's the same. It'll change at renewal.
Okay.
If you were
Gotcha.
in Washington or California, it would be based on every person's age.
Oh,
So it's, you don't know what it's like going, okay, I'm contributing 110 for this one because they're 20, but then on the 60-year-old, I'm contributing 350. I mean, it could really vary that much. Whereas in Oregon, 300 all across the board for, a year.
everybody, yeah.
Numbers, yep. Which I
Okay.
really makes it easier to track and for you to budget for it, because you know exactly. It doesn't matter who I hire, it's going to be 300 per month if they choose. If they do not choose to enroll, you are not obligated to contribute any dollars to them. Because they can say, oh, well, can I have the 300? It's like, no, it's based on the enrollment. So they get, what I tell employees, that you got an X dollar raise. So in this case, let's say that it's $300 times 12. You just got a $3,600 raise without having to pay taxes on it, because it's in the form of employee benefits. So they're getting the benefit on when you look at total compensation, besides their salary, their time off, their sick time, anything else you're providing, they're getting an additional 3,600 in benefits. They don't see it monetarily on their paycheck. That's a good thing, because that means they're also not being taxed on it. And any portion that they're paying, it's a pre-tax deduction. So then they're paying less payroll taxes, you're paying less payroll taxes, which is another benefit there.
Okay, that sounds good. Is that considered like
It's like a cafeteria plan. They call it a premium only plan or a POP plan. It's getting authorization from the IRS to be able to pre-tax deduct, and we help you take care of that. We have.
does that like, is it does that count as like a tax credit or a tax deduction?
It's not a tax credit. So the way that it works on payroll is that you're just paying less taxes.
Okay.
So you're, which is a good thing, because they're getting paid $1,000, they pay $300, they're taxed on $700 versus being taxed on $1,000. So their taxes are lower. Anything you contribute, that $300 contribution, that one is a write-off, if you will, an expense on the employer for you. So you can write that off as a business expense.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. But yeah, I think probably the next step would just be running some, if you could run some dummy numbers just to give us an idea. And then, of course, also send me over the recording so I can share that with my boss. But yeah, and I think, yeah, just, give us kind of a good idea of, different ranges. And that one where, it was, I think that was Providence with the base plan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then employees have the option to kind of opt in to higher plans if they want. Sounded pretty good. And then, yeah, if you could send over the dental stuff too, that would be nice.
Okay. And do you want me to send it just to you and then you share it, or do you want me to?
Yeah, just kind of like.
Okay. Because I have Jennifer, J. Guzman, Valeria, and you on the email. Do you want me to send it to all four? Or do you want me to just send it to you and then you can share it out however you prefer?
You can send it to all of us. That's fine.
All right, we'll do that.
Yeah, perfect.
Any other questions you may have, or any concerns, or anything else that you're like going, oh,
I don't think so. I'm sure all the questions will emerge at midnight when I'm trying to get ready to go to sleep. But in the moment, they're never there.
Right. And you can always email me saying, oh, I forgot to ask this. So no worries on that. And one other thing is if let's say you just hired the 23-year-old last week, to say, and you're starting the plan, I'm just going to say June 1st, not saying that you are, but if you say, okay, we're going to start June 1st, it's going to be first of the month following 60 days. when you're first starting the plan, you can waive that wait period. So if the 23-year-old wants to enroll for June 1st, they can. Or you can say, you know what, no, I need that 23-year-old to wait the entire time. So then you can say, nope, that 23-year-old has to wait the 60 days before they can enroll, which means May, June, July. They won't be eligible to enroll until August 1st.
Oh.
So you can either have them wait or you can roll them now. So that's also your choice on that wait period when you're initially enrolling. Once you have that, and once it's been enrolled, then anybody else hired after your plan starts will have to wait that wait period.
Okay.
So that's an additional thing that it may or may not affect. For most clients, it's not really a factor because most of their staff have been on board. But if you have somebody newer, you can decide if you want to, you know, especially if they're 23, they're going to enroll, that's actually going to help your rate. Then it's like, no, encourage them, come on. So
yeah,
that's up to you. So that's
okay.
another thing that you can determine. So next steps, I'll get the recording and you know, a pro forma, if you will, with some options, get that over to you. Once we do that, if we need to have another meeting with everybody else, we can definitely, if we want to dive a little bit deeper and kind of say, okay, you know what, let's look at these other things, we can certainly do that. Then after that, it's determining when is the plan going to start, and then we back into it. So if you say, you know what, we want to start July or August, then we back into it saying, okay, well then when are we going to meet with staff? That way we review. I can meet with staff either in person, via Zoom. I can do recordings, whatever works for you and staff. And then, you know, we collect the enrollment forms. I provide them packets that shows the benefits. We review all that. Enrollment forms, collect those. I'll then collect also the information on the business, federal tax ID, how many employees you had last year, full-time, part-time, your workers' comp, who's your policy with. If there's anybody who's the signer, and then if you have a billing person or somebody else, we include them in there so that you all have access, those that need to have access, to be able to call in. And then once everything is in, within about a week or two, you get the welcome, then you can make your payment. And hopefully if we do everything the way we need to, everybody will have their membership card in hand before the plan starts. That way they have access, you know, starting that first of whatever month is chosen. Okay.
Right. Okay. That sounds great.
All right. Well, if you think of anything else, you can call me or text me or email me middle of the night. You know, that's okay. I will respond to you.
Okay. Well, perfect.